This Saturday in Brighton, there will be a walk to raise money for helping people who live with mental illness. To tell us about the event, along with the treatment and support programs being funded, is our guest from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Massachusetts director, Laurie Martinelli. Thank you very much for being with us, Laurie.
Thank you for having me.
These walks, we hear them for about all sorts of health problems, but this one is not so much about a medical advance as, I guess, some other things.
It's actually, you're right, it's about raising awareness about mental illness. The federal government says 1 in 4 people in their adult life will have a mental illness, and it's also about busting the stigma that's surrounding mental illness. The stigma that the person may have that prevents him or her from getting treatment, but also the stigma that family members may have, the stigma which really means discrimination that society has towards people with mental illness. So it's a very severe and real problem.
Well, even before you were with the Alliance, you were, I guess, a legal advocate for people dealing with this problem. What was that like?
Yes, I worked for Healthcare for All's law firm, and I've always represented vulnerable people who couldn't get access to health care. And no surprise that one group of vulnerable people is people with mental illness. So that's what got me into this. This is what opened my eyes to this really civil rights violations that happen on a pretty regular basis to people with mental illness.
Well, what about the way things are nowadays? I imagine there's been some improvement as far as insurance coverage and some mandates that weren't there before, but how good is it actually?
Well, actually, you're right. There has been some improvements, and certainly the Obamacare law, the Affordable Care Act, will improve access, not here in Massachusetts because we've been ahead of the curve, but in many other states. But really, health care coverage and mental health services often are two different things. So a lot of NAMI people rely on the Department of Mental Health, and their budget is severely underfunded. It always is underfunded chronically. And a lot of supports that people need, housing supports, employment supports, case management, things to get through their day, don't exist or have been cut in the Department of Mental Health.
Explain that a little bit about the importance of housing supports, because yes, there are people who need affordable housing, but what does this mean for people with mental illness? Well,
this means that if people are in their recovery from mental illness, so they're at a point where they can hopefully live on their own. They might have been in a hospital, but now they're out. But they want to live on alone, but they can't live alone unless they have some kind of supportive housing. So typically there's a person there in the house. They might be in a group home with other people. They may not be able to, at least initially, live on their own.
I guess the other thing that goes on here is that you might have some of the infrastructure of help out there. There might be medications, there might be access to healthcare providers, but I guess you need some kind of a glue to hold it together, some stabilizing that would make it all work.
Exactly. Well, the glue a lot of times are family members. So that's where NAMI was actually founded, by family members. But if you don't have a family, then you need the glue. And the glue is a lot of those other supports that the Department of Mental Health should be providing. Case management, perhaps employment support, supported employment. So there's definitely other things that need to exist to make things work.
I know you mentioned that this walk happening Saturday, it's to raise awareness and to show that this affects all kinds of people. But as far as any money, what do you hope to do with that you raise from this?
Well, last year we raised over $500,000, and we really just plow that money back into our NAMI programs, all of which are offered at no charge to the people who take them, but of course it's at a charge to us. So we have a number of programs, support groups and education programs for both family members and people with mental illness. All those programs are free, as I said, and most of them are supported by the walk.
I know that doesn't sound the same as a health provider visit, but let's say you're a parent who has a child with mental illness and you get to talk to another parent who's in that situation. How valuable?
That is hugely valuable, because a lot of parents think they are alone. They are the only ones on the face of the earth that are going through this. And because of the stigma, they don't feel comfortable talking to their neighbor. They don't feel comfortable talking to a colleague at work. So that makes them feel even more alone. So NAMI offers family support groups, 40 of them around the state. So you can go on our website and see where they are. And it's an opportunity just to talk to other family members or parents who are in the same boat as you.
Well, tell us about the walk on Saturday. This is starting in Brighton. Is it Artisani?
It's Artisani Park, yes, on Soldiers Field Road. The festivities will start about 9 o'clock. The walk officially happens at 11. It's basically a 3-mile walk around the Charles River. It's quite lovely, frankly.
And this is some of the same route I think used by the Walk for Hunger. It's a great
It
setting
is.
there.
It's a beautiful walk. And then we have several speakers. We're going to have face painting. We have food. It's a real upbeat day. So it's not the kind of day where people feel sad about mental illness. It's a day where we are proud of supporting or loving someone with mental illness, and there's no stigma. It's a stigma-free zone.
And again, what time is this starting up?
The walk starts at 11, but we would urge people to come to Artesonic Park around 9 o'clock. And there's actually a shuttle bus leaving from the Central Square subway in Cambridge if people can't get over to Artesonic Park.
Right. And finally, if people would like more information about your organization, whether they want some help or they want to take part in this event,
I think the best thing is to go on our website, Chris, and that is www.namimass.org.
All right, thank you very much for being with us. Laurie Martinelli from the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We'll have more news in just a moment.